Um, Alrighty, so we're there. Hey guys, what is up? I'm back again, and this time with an extremely interesting topic that a lot of people talk about, but not a lot of people have felt. Unfortunately, I'm one of those unlucky few who felt all the different types of guitar weight relief, right? So the first thing I want to talk about here is basically that this video, we're going to be looking at different types of guitar weight relief. This is specific to Gibson Les Pauls because this is the topic that a lot of people talk about. Which is the best kind of weight relief, and is it preferable to just have no weight relief at all? Now, the traditionalists will tell you yes, and a lot of you guys will agree that you don't prefer to have a weight relief guitar. But then there's also a whole populace of people who needs that weight relief, and sometimes it can be quite a deal breaker for these guys. Now, I just want to make my point clear here. I'm not swinging either way for any of these types of weight relief. I've tried them all, and honestly speaking, I am of the opinion at the end of the day that it matters solely on the wood. Like, to be very, very honest, it really, really depends on the wood density, right? Even if it's all mahogany, it's going to be different weights, and that's what really, really matters, right? However, there is a probability thing here. If a specific lineup of guitar is going to be weight relieved, chances are it's most probably going to be, lighter than the others. And this is something that is to be taken into account for a lot of reasons. Now, I want you to think about a lot of different people because the Les Paul is just such an amazingly versatile guitar that's used in so many different types of scenarios. Recording, doing live sessions, playing full-on big arena shows, simply noodling around at home with. As a wall hanger piece, I've seen people put it on the wall, right? Because they're beautiful guitars. But then you want to think about this as well, okay? They're made to be played, right? I think we can all agree on that part. But what a lot of people can't seem to agree on is what is the best type of weight relief, as in what type of weight relief is considered to be the most preferable. And everybody's got preferences, and you'd be surprised to see what my preferences are because I was very much swinging for one of these kinds on the screen, but I could never make up my mind until I spent time with it. Because, initially, your impressions aren't always going to be enough on the first day. It usually takes weeks and weeks, and it's something that kind of builds up over time and something that you got to try out for a long, long period of time to be able to really analyze properly and see if it's best for you. So, yeah, while first impressions can be telling, it's not always 100% going to be the thing that makes a difference for you, if you catch my drift. So, now that all of that sweet talk is over, let's talk about what I think of these weight relief types, right? So, on the screen, you're going to be looking at basically 5 different types of weight relief, okay? And really, there's not much else to say apart from, they all kind of do serve a purpose, and there's always going to be people who are going to say that the originals had no weight relief, right? And that matters to them because that's a traditional thing. And I agree. There's a lot of arguments that are made for that first weight relief right there, which is the traditional weight relief. Actually, no, that's not. The image has it wrong. But traditionally, they don't have weight relief, right? So when you look at it on the screen here, it shows you almost no holes, right? Again, don't get me started on holes. But what really, really matters is that's a solid body guitar, right? So when you're looking at a solid body Gibson Les Paul, normally people associate that with the originals that came out in the 50s and even in the 60s. In fact, for a long, long period of time, there was no weight relief, I mean, if you look at some of those 70s Les Pauls, those were really heavy, and those were the pancake body ones. So you want to think more about, on the lines of, does solid body matter that much to somebody who, is in love with the idea of what the original was like? Yes, it's going to matter 100%. And, they're always going to feel that perception. Even if they didn't know, even if this was like some sort of weird placebo effect where, they just thought, hey, this is not weight relieved, so it's perfect. But then they found out that specific model was weight relieved. They'd be quite disappointed because sometimes it's all in your head. And there's been so many different sustain tests, and people who say that non-weight relief guitars just sustain longer, they're just thicker necks, and non-weight relief and just more massive wood really matters, and it kind of does scientifically. There's also a lot of tests that show that it doesn't actually make a difference. But that's a debate that I can't prove because I'm not educated enough. But what you can do is you can definitely keep on looking at that. You can keep on trying to find out what is it really that matters for you. Because at the end of the day, you're going to land among one of these. You're going to be able to look at, that perfect guitar that you find, and you think to yourself that, Gibson has been making all of these different guitars and there's all these different choices. What is the one that I want, right? And I think that the more modern you go, the more you do see weight relief, and that's pretty apparent, right? Let's talk about the classics for a second. So the classics all come with what they officially call traditional weight relief, right? So this is the 9-hole weight relief. As you can see here, you're going to be looking at this 1, 2, 3. These are 9 holes, all right? I haven't counted them. Do I know how to count? I think I do. But these are 9 holes, right? So this sort of weight relief, by the way, and I've said this in an earlier video, okay? People don't believe me when I say this. I promise you, I've weighed them with a scale, okay? And I weighed about 20 to 30 of those because I love trying out guitars, right? So the 9-hole weight relief actually is heavier than the non-weight relief a lot of times. I'm not sure why. It doesn't make any physical sense. Look, mahogany, same specs, right? One has 9 holes, one does not, right? One's completely solid. Those 9 holes probably weigh something, right? But the 9-hole weight relief guitars are significantly heavier in my experience. I'm talking about the classics, okay? And this made almost no sense to me. But then, I tried out a whole bunch of them, and it's really very, very variable. I'll go back to the very first thing I said, okay? It all has to do with wood density. So sometimes, and I can prove this because there are some customs that are considered super light, right? They're considered featherweights or featherlight guitars. These are like 7.5 pounds, and they have no weight relief, right? And they're still mahogany, okay? They're still the same species of wood. So traditionalists, as much as I agree with you guys, non-weight relief is the original, it's a desirable one, right? I have a 60s standard. It's non-weight relief, and I love it, right? It even sounds incredible. As much as I agree with you, does it matter that much? Really? Maybe it's all in our heads, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with me on that, but maybe it's all in our heads. Now let's talk about something else, all right? I talked about the traditional weight relief. I talked about the, the 9-hole, which is what you can see here. I want to switch, and I would like to take you guys to see. Let's have a look at one of these other ones, okay? So here we go. As I was just saying, this is the traditional weight relief, which is 9-hole weight relief, right? I haven't seen it take off a lot of weight. Maybe like half a pound. I can't say, I'm not a complete expert, but I have tried a lot of these. I can just speak from personal experience and hope that I'm right. But yeah, that doesn't make that much of a difference, okay? What does make a massive, massive difference is the one right here. The chambered weight relief, right? This is chambered. For a lot of people, this is a bad word. They do not like this word. And I'll tell you what, look, I owned a 2008 Les Paul Studio, which I regret selling almost every day. It's such a beautiful, incredible guitar, completely chambered. And if you listen to the tone on that, honestly, it did not affect the tone that much. There was a very, very minimal difference between that and what I consider a solid body Les Paul. It was there. It was just a little bit more resonant. Like you just get a little bit more resonance in that guitar. Maybe that's a good thing, It depends on your preference. But I'll tell you what was incredible. That guitar was so light. It felt so freaking good to pick up. Honestly, it's like, when you're standing up and you're playing and you're letting the strap get all up here and there, and you're letting the balance kind of dance you along while you're playing. That's a lot of fun. A super heavy guitar, maybe not. Maybe you prefer it. Sometimes it's good to have that firm feeling slab next to you, something that's pushing you down a little bit. That's good sometimes too, but for my preference, I felt like that was a lot better. Now, does that apply in all the cases? No, because like I said, it's all about the wood. And for example, my new 60 standard, which is an 8.8 pound beast of a guitar, it's not that heavy. 8.8 pounds for non-weight relief is considered awesome, you know? I know that there's even lighter ones. I've seen 8.4 pound ones, which are like just as good as weight relief ones, right? But what I'm trying to say here is that it's all down to preference, and I really like the chambered one. Now, let me take you to a different one. I've also since owned a couple of modern weight relief guitars, right? So I have, not even modern, ultra modern, because they're recessed a little bit more. So these guitars, and let me take you to a better visualization so you can really, really see. Now, this is what you'd see as a modern weight relief, right? And this is what we were just talking about. This is the 9-hole. I've had both. Okay, so I had the 9-hole with my traditional 2010, and it was like a 9-pound guitar, but it was a bit body heavy. It was still very nice, but it was a little bit body heavy for me, especially after the neck, like the neck was it was converted to a 60s neck, and it just felt a lot more body heavy when you pick it up. So, not a big deal, but I felt it, like when you're in a longer session, you really, really feel that weight. When you talk about modern weight relief, however, honestly, it's like a best of both worlds sort of a thing. It's still a considerable, like you can still feel that it's solid, and it does have some gravitational pull to it, but it's still kind of light. And this varies a lot as well. Like for example, I have a Studio, which is my number one guitar, and that guitar has ultra modern weight relief. It's a 2019 Les Paul BBQ Burst. Let me see if I can pull it up for you real quick, since we are streaming, and since I expect you guys to check it out. Let me just pull this over here. Got it. All right, let me pull this up and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Here we go. So I want to show you my BBQ Burst Les Paul Studio. This is a 2019 Studio, so it comes with the binding, as you guys can see. Let me pull back and show you a little bit more of the guitar. So, it's an absolute pleasure to play. It really, really is. And it's very, very light. But at the same time, it's not what it doesn't feel like a toy. It doesn't feel hollow at all. And it's not. It is very much a light guitar. It feels super nice to play. It's awesome. I really, really like it. And I mean, this is just one of those rare ones that I didn't really think that I'd be interested in, but then when I realized that it's a Studio with binding, and it has that beautiful wine red sort of color with a black edging, also known as the BBQ Burst, and this grain. You see that beautiful cloudy wood grain, like that's about it, like that's what you wish for. This with 9-hole weight relief would have been way heavier. Like, I'm thinking way heavier. You really feel it after a while. But with your modern weight relief, honestly, this guitar sounds solid. It sounds nothing like a chambered guitar, because I could notice a slight difference, just a slight airiness in the tone. It wasn't a bad tone. It was still a really, really good tone. But this specific beast right here, with this modern weight relief, honestly, it pulled me over. It really, really did. Okay, and this really, really matters, guys. So this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. People give weight relief quite a bad rap sometimes, and I think it really works, because if you look at the chambering over here, the chambering that they've done, which is these little holes, the way they do it is so that the sound doesn't exactly get into a hollow chamber and resonate extra, like you want that tightness, you want that sustain, you don't want to lose any of that power, you want that density, right? With these walls between the holes, that's all you need, And this is, I think, my preferred type of weight relief. Look, I'm gonna put this away, and then I'm gonna show you a weight relief version. Sorry, a non-weight relief version. Okay, now let me pull up my Les Paul Standard 60s, which is completely non-weight relieved, and I'll tell you my impressions on a complete solid body guitar that people seem to love so much. And I agree, it's a great guitar. We'll have a look at it. Alright, back again. Check this out. I've got it out with me now. Let me just show you guys what it looks like. So, now I'm going to compare with a completely solid body guitar. Alright? And this specific one right here is a 60 standard. I'm in the middle of converting it, so it's not exactly looking very good right now. I'm converting it to a completely black hardware sort of a thing, still waiting for the pickup rings to arrive. So it's going to look a little bit odd with the pickup rings being plastic and with the pickguard being black and the knobs being ivory. Okay, so check this out. So even with the way I bounce it, I mean, you can feel a difference. But I'll tell you what, this thing is non-weight relieved. Look at how it resonates. Almost instantly, I feel like it resonates more. You know, like it just... I don't know if you guys can tell, but it really does resonate more. Like you can hear more of a volume from... That could be 1,000 different factors. It could be maybe, you know, these are newer strings. Maybe it could be the bridge is better. Maybe the setup is nicer. It could be. It certainly could, you know? Like, I can't say for sure. See? It's quite nice. And I'll tell you what. This is not weight relieved, but the body is not heavy. So it's very well balanced, like between the neck and the body. And when I put it down on my, you know, on my thigh, honestly feels really, really nice. And check this out. Look at that flame. I know you guys like that flame. I know people have such a flame fetish. Alright, so it's a great guitar, guys. I honestly do think that at the end of the day, I keep going back to the same thing that I said at the start. And I played it. You guys heard it. You can still hear it. It's far away from my mic, you know? I haven't even pointed it down right now. It really does, for some reason, resonate more. Which do I like more? Probably the BBQ Burst, but it's a very small margin. They're both incredible guitars. It's just that I've written a lot more music with that, so it's a bit of a sentimental thing. At the same time, I do think that with that specific guitar, maybe I can just keep it, you know, on my shoulders a lot longer. Even though I can keep these both on my shoulders, and it's literally just... You know, that's maybe, that's literally 1 pound lighter than this one. It's a whole pound, right? That pound probably doesn't sound like much, you know? And it's not. But, you know, you're 35 minutes into a set, and as you hit the 40-minute mark, you just start to feel a little bit of drag. And I haven't felt it yet with this baby. I haven't really played it long enough to do that, right? But I don't think I will as much. It's just because I got lucky with how balanced it is. There are ones that are not very well balanced. I saw ones that were lighter than this, but they were body heavy. And I mean, that's something you want to avoid. Even with a lighter guitar, body heaviness is not good. Anyway, guys, so that was a comparison between a few of the weight reliefs. I want to show you just one more thing before we get going. And you can let me know all about your, you know, you can let me know everything that's on your mind regarding these. I would love to hear your feedback, honestly. I always do. I'm going to show you a couple of other things here. So something interesting to note here is when you look at all the different models, you know, when you look at the custom and the classic, they have that 9-hole weight relief, which is great. You look at the standard and the studio, which are two of the ones that I have, and I love them. They have the modern weight relief. I have another standard that's modern weight relief, and it's the lightest guitar I have. It's only 3.4 kgs, converted into pounds, I guess. Then we look at the Supreme. I don't really like the Supreme as a Les Paul. I think it's a great guitar, but it's not to my liking. I don't really prefer it. Just it's oversized, so it makes me feel it's more like an ES type of a guitar. It's just a perception. But also, if you look at it here, like look how hollow this thing is. That's almost like a hollow body, right? And it's very heavily chambered. Then you look at the Elegant, and the Elegant is supposed to be completely like there's just that's the highest amount of weight relief you can have. You know what I mean? Look, at the end of the day, most, if not all of these guitars are completely covered up. They don't have F-holes in them or anything like that. Right? Completely solid. But everything will depend on your preference and based on your experience with a specific guitar. Okay? And for me, look, I prefer faster guitars. I prefer more modern guitars. And this is a 60s standard. It's a guitar based on the 60s models. And it does everything that I want it to. It just sounds great. The neck is nice and fast. It's very comfortable. One of the most comfortable necks I've ever played. It feels thinner. Honestly, it feels thinner than the normal 60s slim taper. I don't know why. Maybe there's something I'm missing in the specs, but it has a thinner neck than my Studio and my other standard. So, sorry, it has a, yeah. It just doesn't feel as thin as the others, is what I meant to say. So, you know, when you have a nice Les Paul in front of you, you're going to be a little bit distracted. All right, guys. So thank you so much for catching me in the stream if you have. And if you're somebody who's caught this video by chance on the internet, hey, drop me a sub. I really would appreciate it very, very much. And you know what? If you do sub to me, like Leafy said, I'll probably send something cool to your house. You know, I'll send you a Les Paul. I'm joking. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you next time with another interesting debate question.